Hey, I'm Larissa from Beekeeping Made Simple, and we're going to talk about a fun topic today, and that is your honey jar and label. There are so many options, and I'm going to show you what jar I've chosen to use. Jars I don't recommend using because they break really easily when shipping, and my absolute favorite label paper to use. So we have a few different jar types that I wanted to show you. We have a hex jar, we have just the basic 9-ounce round jar, we have one that's a little bit taller and skinnier, and then we have the canning jar. This video is sponsored by onlinelabels.com. I've been using onlinelabels.com for my personal honey labels for over 5 years now, and even the farm I used to work before I started my own bee farm told me about them because they use them for their body products and soap labels. And so what I use and have been using for years now is label OL2525WJ. It is 0.9375 inches by 9.0625 inches. And it is a very long, skinny label. This one fits around the 12-ounce hex jar. I love these hex jars because it is reminiscent of honeycomb. It also packs really well. I've had only one jar break in the last 4 years while shipping these, and they're very strong. And after talking to some friends and family members actually hate the tall, skinny jars because it's really hard to get your spoon in there to get honey out. And that's something that you should consider when deciding what kind of jar that you want to use. Since most of my honey that I sell is honeycomb inside the jar with the liquid honey, I chose to go with that narrow label. And onlinelabels.com was the only place I could find that had a label that fit this jar perfectly. They have a ton of different shapes and sizes and finishes, which I love because I use the weatherproof one. And that means that after someone uses your jar of honey and they wash it, they still have this cute jar of honey with a nice label on it that they can reuse for other things. I also like, now you'll see this is my actual label design. It has flowers on the side, the front has the honey and the weight, and then on the side I have just a little bit of a design, but I also like that on the different panels I have the other information. I also have on one of the panels a flavor profile that just explains what this honey tastes like and what it's good to, some possible ways to use this honey, what it's good on. Now, if you don't have a piece of honeycomb inside, but you have a design that you really love that's kind of big that you want to take up the entire jar, then this label is something that I would recommend going with. This is 8 by 2 inches. You know, the online labels, they just come in this plastic box, and if you're ordering a bunch of different kinds, it's great. You can just order like literally just a few sheets, or you can order a whole bunch, and it'll come in this plastic box and it'll have all of the sheets that you need. So this is the 8 by 2 inches, and this is a 9-ounce jar. So this fits the honey label really well. Just has about 1/4 of an inch on the top and the bottom, and just a tiny little bit on the back. And this is the matte, weatherproof, so it will last a very long time. It lasts even after going in the sink and washing it. And this will give you lots of space for your design, and then on the back you can have all that necessary information. Now for the honey packing place that buys my honeycomb, they provide me with this jar. This jar is also 9 ounces, but a little bit skinnier and a little bit taller than the other jars that they use for their regular honey. If you don't want to go with the wraparound label, is you can get the circular labels. The benefit to the circular labels is you can just buy a big pack of the circular labels. The front can have, you know, the name of the honey and the weight. The back can have the important information that is requirement to be on there, and then you can put your name on the top. And if you do not have a fancy label design, or you want to go with something more modern, this is another really great option for you. They sell not only just glossy and matte white labels, but they also sell clear labels. So it's clear paper, and you can print on it on an inkjet or a laser jet. And I've seen this, there's a pretty popular honey company here in Hawaii that has a label just like this. So you see that you can just put you know, the name of the honey, the name of your company, and all the information you want in text on the label, and then you get to see the honey inside it. If you have comb, even better. All right, then we have our canning jars, mason jars. This is, of course, I think most people, when you first harvest those little bits of honey, you're putting them probably in a mason jar, and it works okay. It's just these break really easily when shipping. And I've also had issues here in Hawaii with the lids just corroding really, really fast. And so then I've had to go and buy plastic lids for these. The other problem is that they have all of these designs on them. So it's really hard to put a label on it. And even if you find the kind that don't have the texture and it's just smooth, the canning jars actually go inward a little bit. They're not flat walls like this jar. You can wrap a label around it, no problem. You wrap a label around this, it's going to bubble up a little bit because the walls are not totally flat. They actually cave in just a little bit. So for these jars, you're going to want to put just like a circle label on the lid, or make a tag and dangle it. Now those tags, they just take forever to make, and then you have to poke a hole, and you have to get some string, and you have to hang it from the side. So the canning jars aren't ideal. If you don't have a label yet, check out a video I have down below on how to make a label. I make one right in front of you in 20 minutes. Now, I do have a bachelor's degree in graphic design, so I am going to work a little bit faster, but it really doesn't take that long. There are a number of places where you can spend just $10 for a stock image of a bee and flowers and stuff. You just have to make sure it's the kind that is royalty free. There are websites you can go to for free fonts that I list in there, and of course there's websites you can go to pay just $5 or a little bit more and have a graphic designer make the label for you. A couple of tips when printing out these labels. Printers vary quite a bit, and when they are grabbing the paper and feeding it through, paper shifts. So when you're making these labels, account for about 1/8 of an inch bleed is what we call it as graphic designers, and you add a 0.125 inch extra little bit of design to the outer corners, so that when you're printing this, I have the circle go way past the perforation, so that if the paper gets shifted in the printer, you're not seeing the white paper. Make sure you hide the template lines. When you buy from onlinelabels.com, they have the option to download the template so you can put it on your computer and make sure that everything lines up correctly. Make sure you make that template invisible so you are not printing out those lines when you put the paper in. Don't forget to check with your state to see what has to be on your label. Here in the state of Hawaii, we have to have the weight in ounces and grams, and on the back we have to have the name of our business, our address, our phone number, and we have to have the information: do not feed honey to infants under 1 year of age. And that is verbatim. You have to put that line on there. You also have to put the packed on date. So this is a little tricky, but for us here in Hawaii, this isn't the date that we take the honey out of the beehive. This is actually the date that we are putting the honey in this jar. Seems kind of silly since honey is the only food that lasts forever, but it is what it is. There is also the plastic jars, the honey bears, and all of those plastic bottles that are a lot cheaper, and they are another option. You can add them to your selection for people that are out of town, that are afraid to buy a glass jar. It's just not ideal because when honey crystallizes, you are going to want to heat it up, and you do not want to put those plastic jars in the microwave or in warm water. Alrighty, so that is my take on honey labels and my recommendations for great ways that you can go to make it easily and look really nice and classy. Thanks for watching. See you next time.